Hello, and welcome to episode number 23 of Kit Room. Episode number Mark Vivian Foe. The number was retired after his sad passing. I don't know much on that, so I'm going to swiftly move on before I insult somebody. I hope you're well. Thank you very much for joining us, be it visually or audially. Is that a word? Who knows? But before I continue to ramble on, I will introduce you to our guest. So, Mr. Guest, who are you and what do you do in the space of football shirt content world thing?
I'm Paul. I'm the owner of PFC Vintage. We're based in Australia, so a long way away from you guys.
Yeah, I was thinking about this because I was going to say you're the third Australian I've had on, but you're actually the fourth.
Oh wow!
'Cause I've had Alex first, then Rick. I'm not going to say the last three letters because I always get them wrong. Sorry.
FSC, from what I can remember.
I think so. And the final third to talk about his socks.
Oh, yeah, awesome, man. Final thirds, yeah, he's doing amazing stuff. It's good to see, obviously Australian football culture is a little bit green compared to, obviously, the UK for one, but, the rest of the world, really. We're sort of sitting in terms of, even probably 10 years behind the MLS. So it's good to see that you've spoken to so many of us from over here and doing different things.
Yeah, well, I've been supporting the final third since I think 2008. I started my podcast, and it was on episode 3. I think I did on the USA '94 kits, and I saw that he had socks based on the USA kit, so I had him on, interviewed him, and he'd only been set up for about 6 months since then. He is just grown majorly since then. Obviously now being featured with the CFS. I think he's in a few places in Australia, right?
Yeah. So I think originally he had from what I know, definitely had something with CFS. And I saw yesterday Ultra Football, which is probably I don't know, the top end sport or football store in Australia. So he's done amazingly well. I think more so. I don't know. I can't speak on his behalf, but I think just the football scene in general in the last 12 months, even sort of post-COVID post-lockdown originally, it was just bonkers.
You're smashing it, Dane. Anyway, I need to ask, what are you wearing?
Oh, man, I've got a Sao Paulo number on from the early 90s, which is I was actually a bit concerned because it's a good material, but it's quite see-through. So I was a little bit worried. But yeah, no, it's very cool. I seem to be coming across a fair few Brazilian numbers lately, so I thought I'll go with this kind of vibe because I like this bit of obscurity. I don't like to see it too mainstream. I can see you've done something Australian in behind this.
I've had to go Aussie for you. So this is the inaugural season of Western United. It's their away shirt now.
Yeah, cracking kit.
It is. I got this. This is player issue. It was sent to me by Questionable Quizzes, I think he's called on Twitter. I don't want to say your name because I don't want to dox him. Anyway, but yeah, I really wanted this. He was part of the kit swap series that I was doing.
Nice.
So someone who he had wanted this shirt as well, so I bought one. He bought one for him. Sent them both to me, and I forwarded it on. But with it being player issue, the rubber here is the name's got rubber. Yes. It's lovely. It's tight. However, I did have a Chinese about an hour ago, so it doesn't fit me as good as it would normally.
No, it's a cracking shirt. Actually, a funny story about that team as a whole. There was a bidding process for multiple clubs that wanted to become the new entity in the Australian League, and obviously Western Sydney. Oh my god, I always call them Western Sydney because there was a Western Sydney team. Western United beat the bid that was going to be 2 kilometers from my house, whereas their current setup is I think about 80 to 90 kilometers from my house. So it's I was looking forward to having this local team in the professional leagues that I could support as opposed to going into the town. Because I'm sort of in the suburbs outside, the CBD.
Livid.
So it would have been good. Yeah, livid.
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously player issue and Kappa as well, which is never a good combo.
Man.
But if I'm going to announce it now because it will happen throughout the episode. It's still got the tags on. I don't want to... This is the first time I've worn it, and I don't want to take. It's not a rental. I do own this, but I don't want to take the tags off it yet. Anyway, but what I don't know if this is with any other Australian kits, and please say if it is. But on the back there is this weird sponge square on the neck.
Yeah,
it's quite large, and it's part of the shirt. It's not removable. What is that?
I'm going to assume that it's for like accelerometers and the like sports tracking devices like GPS and stuff.
Right.
Because I've seen it in some of like other sport codes as well, that they've got like this bulky like brick that looks like it's sitting on their neck when they're playing.
Oh, do you know
And I
what?
think they tuck it in somewhere. Is there like a groove or something in the back?
Yeah. Actually,
Yeah, it could be that.
I'm fingering it now, and there's a little lip. I'll stop fingering the flaps, and we'll get onto it.
Just careful.
So, anyway, so let's jump into your early life and how you got into football. Then you mentioned there you're quite far away from a professional team, but what was your introduction to football? And correct me if I'm wrong, are you a Chelsea fan?
Yeah, correct. Chelsea fan. So I'll go sort of way back. When I was a kid, Australian upbringing with an Italian mum and an Australian dad. So obviously you can sort of already guess where that sort of started from, because Australian culture didn't traditionally have football in it, or football as we call it, as a major component to life. But then obviously the Italian influence did. So going to school, I started finding that I was coming across more and more like second generation European kids. And then by the time I got to about 10, I think I had like uncles buying me football shirts, mostly like the bootleg kind of stuff, right? So when you're a kid, it's like sort of,
Yeah.
for you guys, it'd be like what, £5 or something like that, like something real cheap, especially in the 90s. And then, yeah, just one of the guys from school said, hey, you should come play football. And I was like, oh, I said to my dad, and my dad's like, completely like Australian football culture, which is sort of like an amalgamation of like NFL and a couple other sports. It was like, oh yeah, sure, like give it a crack. And then look, I'm still playing for one, and now obviously I've got PFC for another. So sort of just growing my life around it. Like even my wife still plays. My wife actually plays higher level than I'd ever played. So it's sort of just got like this whole gravitational pull towards my life at the moment.
Did you meet your wife through football, or was this already existing? I'm just curious now.
No, ironically, no, but we played at the same club when we were like 12 years old. Didn't know each other. I think from reports that she knew who I was. I didn't know who she was, but I'm going to claim that as bragging rights.
That's fine. Okay. We'll leave it at that. If she watches this, then she can comment down below and correct us. So yeah, how did Chelsea come into your life then?
Yeah, Chelsea was pretty much a decision. I was about 10 years old in the early 2000s. And obviously that's when I was able to start making my own decisions and choosing to watch sport and stuff. So what for us, we only really had one channel and almost even one like show that would per week show football highlights from the weekend. And that was free to air. Obviously, being a kid, you live with your parents, you deal with what you got. And yeah, that was all we had. And I think I just took a liking to Chelsea, especially like around, I think it was sort of like Marcel Desailly type of era. That like, I just remember that Umbro Fly Emirates kit as well. And then obviously translating that early 2000s success for Chelsea as well. It makes it easy to jump on board as a kid because it's like, yeah, my team's winning. And then obviously once I chose Chelsea, I obviously stuck to it. So there was no like ties to them or anything. It was just random choice and kind of worked out luckily.
No, fair enough. I know what I mean. Like so I'm a Manchester City fan, and I grew up in Cheshire, born in Rochdale, so from that area. But I currently live in Birmingham. So now if I say to someone I'm a Manchester City fan, they don't take my accent into account, and they're like, "Really, you glory hunter?" I was like, "No. Let's go back into my family tree and let's go." Yeah, it's a difficult time. Hey, the real struggles. No, with Australian soccer, we'll call it then, because football is what is it? Is it Aussie rules? Is that?
Yeah, it's really strange here. So we've obviously got rugby as well. Rugby's like to a degree known as football, and then there's the Australian football, which is also known as football, and then all the people playing soccer trying to get the name football adopted because everyone's from European descent or some sort of descent that's used to calling it football. So there's this big sort of like clash of heads, and I think it's actually caused a bit of like I don't know if it's a rivalry or just tension between the codes. So there's this like really weird culture between each code saying that, that ours is more superior.
Just call it ice hockey and have done with it. Just adopt a new name.
Yeah.
But so do you follow an A League team then?
I'm okay. So I'm on. This is weird because I'm on the fence, and if that local team came into play, it would have been a no-brainer for me. Um, Grew up as a Melbourne Victory supporter. Um, love the team. Was really, really passionate actually about going to games and getting into active support. And I was pretty much through like my early teens doing it weekly. Got to and this is the worst part about Australian football. We have a finals period. Like it's almost like playoffs, like in the NFL and stuff like that. Bit cheesy, but anyway. So went to a game, and my wife came with me. We were young, like we were dating at the time, so we were still going for a boyfriend and whatever. And we got actually abused quite heavily by the Victory supporter group. Verbally, not it wasn't anything physical. And I think from that day, that was the put off point for me. And I think, I mentioned a few times that I don't like to say that I'm an A-League snob, but I purely haven't chosen a team because of that experience. And it really ruined it for me for Australian football, which really sucked because, obviously someone like me that loves football so much to have such a bad experience in the highest form of Australian football struggles. What I did find though, is it pushed me straight to going back to like my roots. So I found that local football, so like the highest league of local football in Victoria, which is like the state that I live in, I went straight back to the local team that I played my first game for, and they're in like the highest division without playing in the A-League, because the A-League at the moment has no promotion or relegation.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's very strange. It's like a fixed league. And so it's great because like after work on a Friday, they play at home. I can walk to the ground. It's really close and it's still a good level of football. So yeah, I kind of jumped away reluctantly from the A-League. And that's why when I was really hoping for that bid to get approved for that team that's close to home, because that would have been a perfect sort of stepping stone to get back in. But so no, I don't really support an A-League team.
Right, so the just quickly jumping back to the abuse you got, is that how you met Alex? No, that's a throwaway comment. No,
I was gonna say Alex and I actually studied together, so we've known each other for about 10 years or so.
Oh, okay. So he wasn't the one slinging the abuse. That's all I was checking.
He probably was. That's no deny. I just didn't know him back then.
No, fair. So you mentioned that you still play football. To what level? Is it kind of just like non-league Sunday league?
Yeah, pretty much so. Like as low as, I think there's like an official association. It's the second lowest division that we could possibly play. Yeah, still trying to play. Not great, not well, but still just getting out there just for for the love of it. That's about it.
Where in the pitch are you? Are you a box to box midfielder? Are you a deadly?
Pretty much.
Are you a fox in the box? What are they?
No, I'm not a fox in the box. I have the worst shot at you could possibly think of, but I can pass. That's my one thing I'm going to try and claim at least. But keep in mind it is very low level, and we're in Australia, so the quality compared to what you're probably thinking right now is a lot worse.
I've got my title. It's the Australian N'Golo KANTE.
Yeah, I'll take that. That's good.
Yeah, I thought so. So let's jump into PFC Vintage then. So how did this business come about? And for those who are watching or listening who don't know, what is PFC?
So PFC obviously is a vintage football store. Kids store, I should specify. The idea started we're in Japan. I was with Alex and Chris, another friend of ours, and we were all football shirt collectors to some degree. Probably not as actively as we are now, but I'd been collecting them for years, just unknowingly, sort of. I just see one that I liked, bought it. Didn't really think of myself as like a collector per se, and then moved out of home and realized that I don't have enough cupboards anymore, and I've got too many kits. So I was like, well, I probably could start selling them. And then it was sort of like always on the back of my mind. And a few years later, then going to Japan with Alex, he was adamant to go to a couple of football stores there. And I went in there and I was just like, this is, like this nostalgic feeling of like walking back into my childhood, of like remembering watching that show that I mentioned earlier on the weekends and seeing all these great players in these great kits. And I was like, Oh, I think I'm hooked. Like I bought a couple of shirts there, and the worst thing was one of the shirts I bought was a Kappa Italy 2002 World Cup away shirt with Alessandro Nesta on the back. This
Wow.
thing was skin tight.
Yeah, I know exactly which one you're on about.
Correct. And white. I'm, a very dark haired man. This is not a good experience. So it was a bad choice. Worst thing was, wore it once and I wore it to training.
Oh
Put it through the
no.
wash. So trained fine, no problems. Put it through the wash. Name set was gone. Absolute ruin. So I think I ended up giving it to a guy. I think he was going to repair it. So hopefully he's got something good with it now. But yeah, so from Japan, that was where obviously that store alone inspired me to do what I've got now, which is obviously a website, and I'm running this all online from home actually. So it's not a big business by any means. But ideally the goal is to get somewhere big. I think what the biggest thing or the best thing that I saw from being in Japan was that this store was the size of, I don't know, maybe 2 bedrooms. So say, it might have been like 10 meters long by 5 meters wide. And it was just jam packed full of shirts. And I thought, if these guys can do it, I can surely do something similar. Maybe not to their scale, because their scale was still quite big, but something similar in Australia. And I thought it's just a matter of getting the shirts in.
Well, that end point is exactly what I want to talk about, and it's the perfect segue. So thank you very much. While speaking to Rick, Alex, and Dane, they've all mentioned the struggles of sourcing shirts, being in I was going to say Argentina. Then why being in Australia? Obviously, you have access to the internet, of course. You're not that behind, but in terms of delivery dates and shipping dates, like you could be waiting months for something to arrive, and something can quite easily just go missing, or paying an arm and a leg and twice the price of the shirt to get it shipped and imported. So how do you source your shirts then, without giving away any trade secrets? Don't worry.
No, it's fine. I've got nothing to hide, so it's fine. So more or less, I guess COVID and lockdown gave me the opportunity to really apply what I wanted to try and get out of this. And obviously, the internet's, like you said, it's an amazing tool. Essentially, the process that I used just to start out PFC was find as many kit collectors online as I could, and find as many as I could that were willing to sell in bulk. And there's heaps, because I figured if I was the sort of person that was wanting to offload the kits that I had because I had no space, there's got to be someone else. So I tried, and to be honest, at the start, I didn't do very well because I was buying kits in bulks of like, say, 4 or 5, because I didn't have the capital to be able to spend big money. And I was sourcing them locally originally too. So on like, I don't know, it's like the equivalent to like Craigslist or like Facebook Marketplace, or it's the Australian version of that sort of online marketplace, I guess you want to call it.
Yeah.
And it was hard at the start because I was reluctant to purchase from overseas. Obviously, the shipping cost is huge to get to Australia. And without buying like a big bulk number, I couldn't justify that shipping cost either. So what I found I was running into was I'd buy like, say, 4 or 5, and then like one would be fake. And then it's like, like now that investment's gone. So that's like, if it's, say, £35, 50 Australian dollars, something like that. That money's gone down the gurgler. And when you don't have the capital to keep, spending, it's a real challenge. So that was why I jumped into finding kit collectors, because I thought kit collectors are going to be a lot more reliable source, which is hit and miss again, because that was probably a bit dumb to assume at the start as well. But I just had to scrub up on my knowledge and get better in terms of learning. And, there's some great resources out there on the internet, Facebook in particular, and some great people. So I found that I was picking the brains of people that knew better than what I did. And I just kept asking questions and collating a list of collectors as I went through. And I got myself to the point where I was able to spend a little bit more than what I would normally and buy a bulk order from a collector in Asia. And what that allowed me to do was tap into a market that is essentially untouched by Europe. Asia obviously is a bit more accessible for us to get in Australia than it would be for you guys. So I found that there's a lot of volume there, which is true because there's heaps of like Asian collectors. And I guess that one of the good parts about it is a lot of shirts, well, even from like 80s until now, were manufactured there. So there still is a lot of great stuff there that is untouched, brand new tags, and obviously authentic. The risk in that obviously is that there's still like Chinese bulk manufacturers that will flip you 20-pound shirts that are brand new, which you obviously have to try and avoid. So I made some great friends, great contacts throughout Asia, and along with that, it sort of basically gave me like a hub, essentially, that I can send shirts to. So when I do find them, it's the same as looking for them online through other collectors. So essentially, you guys could do the same thing just by jumping on Facebook and trying to find collection groups and things like that. But it gave me a hub to basically chip away, buy one shirt at a time, and then once I'm ready, send them all to Australia in one big batch. That way, at least the bulkier shipping expense it averages out per shirt a lot more affordable than what it would.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a long story, so I apologize. It's a bit of a
No, but perfect. Because I did want to touch on, although we mentioned geographically how disadvantaged you are for Europe, in terms of Asia, you are much closer. And just looking at some stores that I'm aware of that are right in Asia, a few collectors as well, like unreal shirts can be found there.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, and that doesn't. I won't say I limit myself to Asia either, because I think there's too much in Europe to say no to. It's just a matter of being able to find that bulk order option from someone. Actually, funnily enough, the very first bulk order I did was from a guy in Australia, and probably like 30 minutes from my house. I started the Instagram page, and it was pretty novice, and he sent me a message and he said, "Hey, I was trying to do the same thing that you're doing. I've just got a new job and I couldn't really start it. So I don't have the time to dedicate to it anymore." He goes, "I've got like, about 100 and something shirts. Do you want to come and check them out?" I was like, "Okay, cool." So I went down and I took Alex with me because I thought, I need some help, because Alex had some experience in authenticating shirts and I was still a little bit new to it.
You need the muscles.
Yeah, correct. And I thought, just in case this guy's dodgy, I thought it gives me like, someone else to help me get out of this scenario. So we go to this guy's house, and it got really weird because it wasn't even his house. It was like a rental property owned by his parents. These shirts were on a rack in it, like a garage, and they were kept well. Like you could see he'd looked after them. He had a few like plastic wrapped and stuff. And I was like, okay, gone from a very dodgy scenario to like, maybe this guy's just a little bit odd and OCD, but he ended up being a really nice guy. And we went through all these shirts, and there was some amazing kits. Like I think there was like an old, like when Christian Vieri played for Atletico Madrid, like that era, maybe even, I'm thinking like Juninho, that kind of like era Atletico Madrid shirts.
Right.
There was some Zidane, Real Madrid, a couple of Beckham shirts from Man United. There's some really cool shirts that I'd never seen in Australia before. And I looked at Alex and I'm like, if I don't do this now, I'm never going to do it. So I said, "How much for the whole lot?" And I looked at my savings account and I was like, this is not going to go well. And I remember leaving and I was like calling my wife on the way home, and I'm like, she's like, "How many shirts did you buy?" Thinking I was going to say 4 or 5. And I was like, all of them. And she was like, "How many's all of them?" I was like, "Don't know." Don't know.
Do us a favor, don't check the savings account.
yeah. Luckily. But look, in saying that, the flip side was great because they sold fairly rapidly, and it helped me grow the reputation and not that it's big by any means yet at all, but it helped me grow PFC's reputation within Australia.
No, of course, because I've noticed a few other sellers down in Australia do follow me on Instagram. I don't remember the names off the top of my head. I'm sorry, guys, but I know you're there. So definitely you're like cutting yourself up from the rest, and supplying kits that are hard to find for people who want to get their hands on them. So very well done, should we say?
Thanks. Look, it's a try and appreciate it. I think the good thing is like with these kits like this that are, especially like J League is really hard to find, and J League in the 90s is really cool and really expensive in the UK. So I feel like that's a good like access point for me to be able to tap into that market.
Yeah, people from the UK watching, check out PFC for J League. Well, not Manchester City shirts, because you hate Manchester City shirts, apparently.
It is the one team. It's like, so honestly, Chelsea and Manchester City, the two teams that I can barely find. I found one Chelsea kit like in the last 6 months. that I sold. Well, okay, one Chelsea kit that I sold. That's probably, I should clarify. I did find one that I kept.
Fair enough. We will get to shirts that you keep shortly, and your own collection as well. 2020 was a bit of an off year for some people. How did it allow you to grow PFC? Was it your sole in lockdown? Was it your sole like project, or were you still working as well?
So I was lucky. I picked up a job just before lockdown had started. And that job I'm a photographer by trade. So that job transitioned into me being like a contractor to a casual, to a part-timer, to a full-timer. And so by the time full-time came, lockdown basically had set in. So the company was really nice to be able to offer the job. And, there's a lot of people losing their jobs at this point. So I was extremely grateful. But in turn, it meant working from home, which was fine. Being a creative, it was really easy because obviously we've got all the resources. It was just the fact that we couldn't go out and shoot. We had to sort of try and innovate ways to make things look good from home. And obviously being from home too, the way Australia's set up, a lot of the work is done in the city or within Melbourne, particularly obviously for the state that I'm in. And a lot of living is done out in the suburbs. So to commute into work, you lose about an hour to an hour and a half a day. So actually, sorry, per commute. So it'd be up to 3 hours a day.
Wow. Okay.
So being from home, it just freed up a heap of time. And that's what allowed me to start, at least to dedicate time to it. Another byproduct of working for this company was that they're web designers. So, a part of their business is web design. So they actually taught me how to set up e-commerce stores. And in turn, I kind of help them now run and sell e-commerce platforms to other people. So it was sort of like a good win-win for work and for me. So it was great. So yeah, look, so 2020 went from me being a photographer to me being able to basically run an e-commerce platform comfortably and try and innovate as well, which was good. So I learned a lot in 2020. It wasn't a detrimental year at all. And I played heaps of COD, so that was good.
Just chuck that in at the end. Yeah. And I am great at Warzone right now.
Oh, I'm awful, but I played a lot.
I think I played like 2 games and I did awful as well. Then I uninstalled it. So what is next for PFC then? Is there a roadmap, or is it just a ride the wave, see where it goes?
It's a bit of ride the wave, but I think I've got some ideas in the loop. So I want to bring out like a video content series for local footballers here. I think it's going to be something around like showcasing some abilities, and there's a lack of exposure socially for local footballers here. And there's a lot of good footballers that don't get the accolades or the recognition they deserve. I've seen a lot of good players go through, I think I mentioned earlier, that like local top division and not be able to excel into the professional division purely because of the financial differences. And I feel like if I can, I've got some reach within Australia now with PFC. I feel like if I can transition that into, giving back into the football community, just by, even if it's just by having fun in this football video, and it exposes a player to be able to get a trial somewhere, or, that is my like ideal goal. Because I think the opportunities aren't as good as what they should be here. I think the platform for growth isn't great. But that's you say that's looking from the outside in, from what maybe there is platforms there that I don't know about. But yeah, the idea is a video content series basically that's going to expose footballers.
Oh, I love it. Like the sound of that. I found out recently that America is similarly the same, where it's a pay to play. So all the rich kids are getting in, but you could have some really talented kid who's not very wealthy, and he will never make it because they don't have the funds. I know there's a lot of people trying to right that wrong, but no, fair play to you. I like that idea. You also mentioned no, don't know why I said that, but you do a lot with Alex as well, the between two shirts. How did that come about? Was that just a random? I mean, that might be a question for Alex. I mean, it's his channel, but
talking shirts is So I think so. Alex was adamant. So Alex is a photographer as well, a very good one at that, to be perfectly honest with you. And with lockdown came free time, so obviously we started sending kits to each other saying, "Hey, what do you think of this? What do you think of this?" And then he's like, "Oh, I think I want to start like a YouTube channel or a podcast." And I was like, "Okay, cool." I'm like, "Look, I'm interested in the same stuff you are. I'm doing this kit thing." So I think one of his first episodes was with me after we went to that guy's house and purchased that like lump sum of shirts. So we just literally just sat there going through all these kits, and I think that's kind of how it started. But we just try to make it a regular thing. The difficult part is obviously Alex lives quite far away from where I do, so it's about an hour commute till we can catch up. So we started doing them over Zoom, and that was fun. And I think it was a good outlet for us to display like our love for football and share something with someone else, because it's not as common in Australia to be able to have this connection with someone. So like one thing is we're mates first and foremost, which is great, and then to be able to share the love for football gets even better again. So we thought, why not? We're both creatives. We're both able to achieve something similar. So there was just all these things that just fell into place at the right time, and it just eventuated to this podcast series or like mini YouTube series, whatever you want to call it.
No, that's great. And if people watching or listening haven't seen or heard it, I definitely recommend them. I do want to ask questions about the strange woman in the latest episode, but we'll do that off camera. Because I don't know where that'll go. So your kit collection. Let's move on to there.
Yeah, cool.
Do you still collect, or is it what you get you see as stock, but you'll wear it for a bit?
No, very much so. Not well. No, so I don't wear the ones that I consider as stock. I may, so if I might see like a bulk collection from a seller that's offloading, and I'm like, or like 3 or 4 of these I would love to keep. I'll get them. If they fit good, they go back into the closet for my own room. The rest, I'll keep for PFC. There's been times where like I've been, like there's a shirt that I bought. It was the long sleeve. I think it was Italy 1997, the Nike era. Really nice away shirt. I was like, okay, cool. This is really cool. It was a little bit snug, and I was like, post lockdown, I'll go back into preseason. I'll start training. I'll fit into this, in 6 months' time. This one is like my bane, because I don't want to get rid of it, but I know this needs to go back to like the PFC Vintage pile, like because it doesn't fit. The sleeves are like a little bit too short too, so it looks a little bit like I'm trying to fit into kids' clothes. So look, I definitely keep ones that I want to keep. So for anyone that watched the last episode of Between Two Shirts with Alex, that Palmer shirt was in the last box of kits that I bought, and I couldn't part with that. For me, that's the one thing I remember is like Gigi Buffon, Cannavaro, like playing for Palmer in the 90s, and to have that shirt for me, I was like, oh, that's amazing. So to get rid of that would be, you'd have to really twist my arm in some good way, or offer me something in exchange, some other shirt that could to top it for me.
No, that is a stunning shirt as well. So do you collect anything in particular, or is it literally whatever you see you like that you love the design of, and that you can get your hands on as well?
I think for me, it's more about like, I said nostalgia before, but I think it's about the feeling and the association that I get from childhood. So I'm not like tied to any manufacturer, any specific team per se. Like obviously, getting like Australia, obviously Italian and Chelsea ones are pretty important to me. My mum's family are from Genoa, so they're Sampdoria fans. That was sort of where, and I found I've picked up a few of those over time. But in terms of like extra kits, like in between, I think there's no particular reason why I would buy it. It's more, the feeling in terms of like how I remember that kit. So like, and it could be, I'm sure that'd be the same for everyone, because, you see like a Batistuta kit somewhere and it's like, oh, I remember how good he made me feel. Like I was so excited. I just wanted to be like him. And I think that's my like go-to for buying football shirts. So I've been recently trying to find like a Werder Bremen shirt from, I think it was like mid 2000s when Diego was there. And I was like, because I remember loving him as like a teenager, and unfortunately, Kappa. It's like the bane of tight shirts. So I'm trying to find like a large or an extra large that may fit comfortably.
No, I know the struggles of Kappa as I sit here with a stomach full of rice. But I say sit here, I'm stood up. The kit collection that you have, you say that you were collecting for a while. What got you into collecting shirts? Was it kind of just your love of football that transcended into buying the shirts, or
I think the actual pretty much it sort of just happened. So the start of the collecting was an uncle who, for a birthday gift, gave me a bootleg kit, an Italy one, and I had Totti on the back. And then from there, obviously as a kid, I tried to wear that shirt daily. Funnily enough, the shirt doesn't fit, and I think I lost it, but I still have the shorts, and the shorts still fit. So just for reference, it goes to show how tall I am. So I'm quite short. So I think that's what kicked off the shirt collecting. I think from there, like, you know, the next year I wanted to try and get like the next Totti shirt that was available. Became a little bit fanatical with Totti as well in particular. And I think that was where it kind of snowballed. And it was like, okay, the local market had like a stall of like bootleg kits, and I'd go there and it'd be like, the guy had this thick South American accent, and he'd be like, yeah, one size fits all. So like, I'm a small adult. Like, imagine me as a kid, I would have been even smaller again. So it's like this 2XL XL kit that I paid $10 for, which is like £5. It's the worst thing possible. It's the worst material. And I was running around as like a 9 and 10-year-old with this thing down to my knees. But that's it was one of those things, like every weekend, like my parents would want to go to the market to do groceries or whatever. And I would just spend hours going through this guy's rack, and he probably had 50 shirts, and I would just continually spin through it until I found one that I liked and try and twist my parents' arm to see if we could get one that week. And it just snowballed from there, because as much as they're all bootleg, and, you know, you're a kid, you don't know any better. As long as you get the enjoyment out of it, makes no difference.
No, of course.
Yeah. So from there, it just snowballed, and I ended up having heaps. And then obviously over time, I started to realize that, you know, authentic is the way to go. And, you know, they obviously last a lot longer as well. So to be honest, I kept my bootleg kits. I train in them, and I don't sell them obviously, but, you know, it's good to go through the wash, good to do the housework in, and that's about it.
Yeah, no, I do like a. Oh, see, player issue. Now I don't know what's Rick playing at by an only player issue, because it's so tight.
Yeah, it's a tough one. I think I've got a couple of player issue shirts, but I'm thankful that they're about a size too big for me, so they fit perfectly. You know, player issue, it's all around performance, right? So any wind assistance, aerodynamics, and there's obviously a lot of other factors that come into play. So I think, yeah, Rick loves his player issue shirts, and look, I don't blame him. I think they feel nice too.
Of course.
I think the last one I got was an Ashley Cole Chelsea from like, I think 2005-ish.
Oh, wow.
It's a third shirt too, which is good. So it's not as common, but it feels great, and it's such a good material.
I'd actually buy the 2016 France away shirt from him. Love that shirt. It was
cool. Yeah,
the best shirt from like Euros. That only took like 2 weeks to arrive. I was shocked.
Yeah, it's a mixed bag coming out of Australia. I think with the UK, we seem to be shipping pretty well from what I've seen.
Yeah, that one took 2 weeks, but that was in the period where the UK was between lockdowns. This one I bought in September, and it arrived Christmas Eve.
This is floodgates for 2 weeks, and then it just stops over again.
Yeah, pretty much. I was pretty. Rick was on about he sold one a guy in Italy, and it was like at the height of when Italy were in their like massive lockdown, and like nothing was happening. And the guy kept messaging Rick, being like, "Yeah, where's the shirt?" He's like, "It's in Italy." It's like, "I'm not hand delivering it."
I am in Australia. This is a long way to travel to hand deliver this.
But have you got any shirts to the side to do a quick show and tell? I noticed you've got a Germany shirt behind you.
Yep. I've racked up a couple. Give me 1 second. I'll grab them for you.
I clocked that Germany shirt. Oh my God, I love it so much.
That was extremely lucky. I didn't realize how short my microphone wire is.
Bring your whole desktop down with you.
just take it. That'd be great segment for the next. So I grabbed a couple. These aren't personal collection. These are PFC ones.
Some quick advertisement for you then.
I just thought these are cool. These are probably cooler for most people than the ones that I've got in my own collection anyway. And I've just blanked on the year of this. I'm going to say 90 or 92, possibly 92, 92. I can't remember. Germany shirt. So this is a beauty. Jurgen Klinsmann. Actually, it could be.
It's later. I think it's 96.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. 96. It is Euro 96. It is, because it's got this thing. Yeah. So yeah, cracker shirt. I've got a thing for Jurgen Klinsmann. I think I just established recently. I don't know why, but I think I do. I just
is it like me with Kevin Trapp or?
maybe not as intense. I definitely do love your relationship with Kevin Trapp though. This is when you did your tag flick before. I was actually contemplating wearing this, and I have not worn this, and I'm very sad. So, Ramon Palmeiras, this is actually still got tags on it as well.
Jesus.
So for like a 90s Brazilian kit to still have tags, this is when I found this, I was like, oh, such a cool shirt. And it's got the number 10 on it too, which is even cooler.
Was that from the guy who you bought the shirts from, or?
Yeah, correct. Yeah. So this was from one of the collectors. It just happened to have it, and I was like, oh, this is insane. Like, this is such a rare piece. It's just this dilemma now that I'm stuck in, because one, I kind of wanted to keep it. It's got tags, so I can't wear it. And if I do wear it, I'm probably going to ruin it, ruin the value at least. So I was like, oh, do I do it? Do I put it online? I don't know what to do. So I thought, you know what? I'm just going to put it online, because then the sooner I get it out of my face, the sooner I don't feel bad. Let someone else have that issue. Speaking of that, I actually sold a shirt to a guy, brand new with tags, Juventus. And then I saw him night clubbing wearing the same shirt. And I was like, I don't know what to think. But
not night clubbing, but I have a similar story. So classic football shirts. When I was early into collecting, it was just after I graduated uni in 2018. I bought the 1992 Napoli away shirt from classic football shirts. They were like, they had quite a few, and they were like down to like 40 quid. I think they were just trying to ship them off. So I bought it really cheap, brand new tags. It's still in the bag. It arrived to work. I just ripped it open, ripped the tag off. This was before I thought about like the value
consequences.
And, like, yeah, of course, because obviously everything I buy, I plan on wearing. I keep it. It's here for me to wear.
Of course.
Ignore the tag on this. I've owned this in lockdown. I'm not going to wear a thing with player issue Kappa in lockdown, but yeah, I remember just seeing because I was working in an office at the time, and there was a guy at the reception who was just watching in horror, like I was just ripping open his bag, ripping off his thing. I mean, I love the shirt. I'm never parting.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
But to think of the value I've just destroyed, especially now.
I feel like we need to make it a thing to wear tags out of the shirt fashionable.
Yeah,
I think it needs to be like, maintain it, but I guess then you can't really wash it, can you? That's kind of gross.
So my One Piece kit still has the tags on, and if people follow me on Twitter, you know that I do whack on that One Piece one every so often.
Is that the Cameroon?
It is.
Yeah. Nice. Cool. The next one. So I've gone with a Kun Aguero Athletico Madrid. I thought this was cool. This was one that you grow up as a kid, especially if you're in your 20s, playing FIFA when Aguero and like Forlan are still playing at Atletico. And yeah, I was like, this is, for me, is cool. Like that was a shirt that I would buy if it fit me. That's sort of like the go-to, as mentioned earlier. Something that, you can find some connection with. I've got two more.
What size was that Aguero shirt?
I think it was a large.
Oh, you know what? I've heard they're pretty worthless. If you just want to send it over my way, that'd be fine.
Yeah, sure. Not a problem. But yeah, see what I mean? Like, I know obviously as a City supporter too, right? Like, that's something that's cool, because it's like, that's a good connection, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. The other, I've got two more. So the second last one is this United training shirt that I came across. And this, I could find next to nothing about this on the internet, but checks out. And I think I found one like promotional photo from a magazine that United used as like a catalog of their training wear for that year. Yeah, super cool shirt. I think that's something that's definitely very like obscure and a little bit different.
It is a nightmare coming across training wear, because I know I think Cult Kits or I can't remember if it was Cult Kits or you who gave Alex that United shirt. It's an number training one. It is insane, but I have never seen anything like it before.
Yeah.
And I've picked up a few like 90s training stuff, and there is just no chance of researching it because there's no pictures anywhere.
Yeah, it's honestly so hard to find. Someone, I can't remember, it was in a forum somewhere, someone mentioned that, if you search for, I don't know if it was magazine or catalog or something, along with the rest of the search terms that you're trying to find, sometimes there's like someone's posted somewhere like a history of their training gear, and it's like literally like catalogs that you've got, pictures from like 1990 of like Ryan Giggs sitting there in this like tracksuit, and that was just by luck what I came across. So it was extremely lucky, and it took weeks to find out the year, just a year it was from. That was a big challenge. And the last one, I think, is the one I'm going to include in the giveaway, but maybe we'll get to that a little bit later.
Yeah,
is another training shirt, actually. So it is a very cool England training shirt. So back from the Umbro days as well, which is cool.
No, that is delightful. England are playing right now, actually, as time of recording. I have no idea what the score is. I don't follow England nationally. I was trying to think in terms of my kit collection. I think I've only ever had like one official England shirt.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, I've currently got a score draw one because it was like one of my favorite England shirts, and I'm never going to be able to afford it. So I have a lot of Germany shirts, and given how England see Germany as their rivals, even though Germany don't have England in their top 3 rivals, which is hilarious.
have you like your English background, right? So you haven't just adopted Germany as like your nationality.
No, so like English, and my mum, her parents are Irish, so that's as far as away from England as I go. But I have a very weird fascination with Germany, and this did happen before Kevin Trapp, may I say. But no,
Kevin Trapp's a byproduct of this love.
Yeah, exactly. He's just collateral damage. But there was, I don't know, there's just something about it. I've always enjoyed, like, I learned the language in primary school, very basically, and then dropped it, and now I want to learn again. So
cool.
The Duolingo bird will not leave me alone. What is the favorite shirt you own? You might not have it to hand, so that's fine. But and this is a bit of a loaded question because it might change daily, like mine does.
Yep. That's a good question. I think I'd have to probably go with the USA 94 Italy shirt, the Diodora, where Baggio missed a penalty. I think that's got to be one of my favorites. I find it really hard to pick one because depending on the day and how bloated I am and which one fits best, I think that'll be my go-to. I think that'll be it. Yeah, I think it has to be my favorite. I think more for sentimental reasons, like remembering my grandpa that had one. He passed away when I was 5 or 6 years old. So knowing that he had one, and then I think then my uncle sort of, he loves his because his dad had one, and there's a good relationship that for sentimentality. And I know I keep bringing that up, but that's the whole reason that I think I've gotten involved in this scene.
I love it. That is a very nice shirt, and I think I have the jacket to go with it, and the jacket is to be Italian. Chef kiss.
Beautiful.
So that is all my questions. Besides the outro bits where I mentioned that each episode a guest recommends a song, artist, or album for everyone to go check out. I remember Dane recommended Tame Impala, who I've been listening to for about a month now, just non-stop. Okay. And Alex has recommended a few Australian artists to me off camera. I can't remember who he recommended. Oh no, the question didn't exist before when I interviewed him. So so he didn't get to recommend any music, I'm afraid. But who is your recommendation for people to go check out?
I'm awful with music. To be honest with you, like I feel like I'm going to tell you someone maybe English. I don't know if that's good or bad. Do you want an Australian artist?
It can be anything. If anything you're listening to at the moment, or your favorite artist or anything. We've had a mix from Smashing Pumpkins. The last episode was on. I had Forward Madison on. They recommended a band from Madison who have a song about Forward Madison.
Cool.
Someone from the Shirt Union recommended a Westlife song, so we have a wider range of songs.
I think I'll go for my pre-game song. I think it's Clubfoot by Kasabian. Is it Kasabian? You pronounce the name?
Yeah.
And that's probably a pretty popular song. I don't know. That's my football related song, I guess. But if you want to check out an Aussie artist, check out a girl named Nyne, Nyne.
Oh, okay. I will add that to my YouTube playlist, and then what I do with music is I don't have Spotify, I don't have Apple Music, so I listen to it on YouTube for about a month, and if I keep listening to it, that's when I decide to buy the album off iTunes.
Yeah, nice. That's good. Good investment. You said, you try before you buy. Exactly.
Like the shirt. I mean, well, no, this isn't a rental. So we'll mention the giveaway because that is also where you get to plug your socials. So you touched on it there. What are we giving away?
So we've got this cracking England kit. Well, kit, so associate training kit. I think it'd be something good for the listeners. We'll post something up on socials and we'll give you the parameters. But I think we're going to do something, follow both of us and share the post, and you go in the answer to win.
Of course, I will. When that happens, I will put a link to that tweet in the description of this video, podcast, whatever you're listening to or watching. But for the following part, I will also put your link to your Twitter in the description and Instagram. But where can people follow you?
They can follow me at PFC Vintage. Very, very short and very straight to the point.
It is. I was meaning to ask, PFC, does that stand for anything? Is that your initials or?
Well, no, which it probably could be. Oh, it's not far off, actually. I started a football photography sort of entity that didn't really eventuate because I was injured at the time and able to photograph football. But now that I want to play, it kind of fizzed out. And that was called Pitchside. And I transitioned the Pitchside Football Club into PFC and then PFC Vintage, obviously, for the classic football shirt side of things.
Like it. I've also just realised the badge you're wearing at the moment, take the S off, you've got PFC.
Oh, well, that was unintentional.
No, it was just while you were saying it, I was looking down, I was like, oh,
just block it with the cable.
There's some free branding for you.
That's product placement.
Well, thank you very much for waking up at the time you did. I think you were waking up anyway, but thank you very much for joining me.
More or less. It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
No, it has also been a pleasure. I will continue chatting with you in the group chat. But thank you very much for joining me. If anyone who's watching, listening would like to go follow him, please do check the description and do so. My links are always the same. You probably already follow me by now. Some of you won't leave me alone. No, thank you very much for joining us. Next episode will be out soon with someone who I don't know, but I am planning a few exciting ones. So stick around. I'm also getting a new microphone, so you'll see that next week. Right, cool. Cheers, guys. Bye.
See ya. Thank you.